Lots of people requested this video, so here I am finally making it. This video is going to be about how I study game programming and C++ and game development, all that stuff. I'm going to share all of my learning resources with you, how I find new learning resources, and essentially I'm going to talk about how I learn. In case you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Tamta Satyani, and I made a C++ game development tool called Tomlib. And a lot of people liked it apparently, or liked it enough to ask for this video. I also work in game development. I make mobile games with Unity, and in parallel I am learning C++. For those who don't know, C++ is used in all of the AAA companies that I know of. So yeah, AAA uses C++, and that is why I am studying C++. I want to eventually, at least at some point, work in AAA. I've also, aside from like a general structure of how I study, etc., I've also sprinkled in some tips here and there, and the full video is going to be timestamped, so if you want to know something in particular, you can check out the timestamps. And another thing I want to say is that none of this is sponsored. All of these are genuinely the tools that I use to study. First thing I want to talk about is that Tomlib is nowhere nearly as scary as some people believe it is. It's really not that complex. A lot of people have pointed it out, but it's a wrapper for SDL basically. Like, SDL is really doing all the hard work here, and I just have a bunch of custom functions to kind of make it more simple and make it more like Love2D, because Love2D is actually my favorite engine to work with when I'm making personal projects for myself. And yeah, so it's just like, this is from SDL. This is from SDL. SDL defines what this is. This is just a custom class. This is just a class inside of a class, and I just have different functions, and I just have different methods of SDL arranged in a way that makes it more comfortable for me, and that's really all there is to Tomlib. So if you're like, oh my god, what is this with this? This is just a class name. This is just a class name. These are just ints, and I just plug them into functions that are provided by SDL. Like, is this window? Yes, this window. Yes, here. This creates a window. SDL did this. It's really not as complicated as you think, and it's really not that hard to achieve this. Final thing I kind of want to mention is that the alternative to this whole process that I'm going to be explaining in this video is probably university. If you go to like a good university, I would imagine that they do all of this for you. The textbook is good enough that you won't need all of what I'm about to explain. But university might not be the option for a lot of people, especially those that are from second and third world countries like me. So this is why we are here today. I personally went through a university in my country, which is Georgia, but it wasn't, I didn't like how they taught me. It wasn't very good at all. So this is why I did all of what I'm about, and I'm still doing all of what I'm about to explain to you. Not every learning resource I use is strictly C++ for game development, and it shouldn't be. Some of these are just game programming resources generally. Some of them are just C++ programming, and then of course some of them are also C++ game programming. And I sort of divide studying into 3 steps: theory, observation, and practice. And when learning new material, I go through these 3 steps. So I go through a little bit of theory, a little bit of observation around that theory, and then practice around it again. Theory is basically going through online courses. Reading books is very important if you want to learn anything at all. Books are extremely useful. Observation is looking at somebody else's code, which again, very useful, especially people that you know are professionals and you know this code is good code. Extremely valuable thing to do. Just go through someone else's code, and then practice is just working on projects, generally doing the thing that I learned about. I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, I can't learn this way, I can't study this, I can't study like that, I can't just read a book, I need to do the thing that I'm doing. The problem with this method, and I used to use this method for years, and it basically gets you nowhere, is because you will learn things that you don't know, but you won't learn things that you don't know, right? So a lot of beginner programmers or people who have nothing to do with game programming think that game programming is just making features, right? Like, for example, coding inventory. But making features is easy. It's the hard part is to make features that work with everything else. So making an inventory is easy, but making an inventory that persists and works with the rest of the game, that's actually the hard part. That is the hard part about making inventory, and that's the most important part of game programming. And when you're using this method, this kind of, I'm working on a project, feature, you are not learning that most important thing that you're supposed to learn. So I always try to talk people out of this method of just working on projects, and I'm trying to talk you out of it now. Just like, trust me, it's probably not gonna work. It definitely didn't work for me. So first thing, focusing on the theory aspect, is this cool website called edX.org. There's a bunch of really cool courses in here from really cool universities like MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Google, which is really cool. All of them are free. Most of them have some sort of limitation, so they're free with caveats. For example, almost none of the courses give you a free certificate. There are a couple exceptions, I'm going to talk about them later, but yeah, certificate, you have to pay. Access to most courses for most of the time is free. Some courses also have free theory, paid practice, so to say. So if you want to learn the theory, it's free to watch videos, read materials, but if you want to participate in tests and assignments, then you have to pay. It really varies, depends on the course. There's this really cool school called CS50. They work with Harvard University. Their courses are Harvard courses, and they give, they're first of all always good. I've never been disappointed in a CS50 course, so I definitely recommend them. And also, they give you free certificates. You won't get Harvard certificates with them, free Harvard certificates, but they do give a free CS50 certificate if you complete all of their assignments, which I think is really cool. I would definitely recommend this one if you're a complete beginner, CS50's Introduction to Computer Science. But they have a really cool course that is not on here anymore, that I actually completed. It's called CS50 Game Development. And it is still available on this website, cs50.harvard.edu/games/2018. I'm gonna leave a link to this in the description. But this is a really awesome course. This is basically this course was like my first step to actually understanding what the hell I'm doing when I'm programming games. It is really, I don't know, I recommend this course to basically everybody because it's I believe it's the coolest course out there for a game development beginner. They have this case study approach where they share some code. So they have pre-made games, as you can see here, Pong, Flappy Bird, Breakout, etc. And they share this code with you, and then the homework is to bring in some changes to the code. So they're basically doing the both of the theory and observation steps with you, and then the final assignment is the practice step, because their final assignment is make your own game. You can no longer submit the homework because this course is deprecated, as you can see here. It's over. However, you can still access, this is, by the way, public access. This isn't like, I'm not breaking any rules or anything here. Anybody can just still view and go through this course. So yeah, I'm gonna leave a link in the description there. This is completely just open to everybody, which I think is really cool. But yeah, definitely recommend edX. Not all of them, not all of their courses are this cool, but you can check them out for free. Moving on to C++. C++, I also started with edX. I found some courses and I went through them. I can't say, it won't let me Google C++. I can't say I was super happy with that course, but it was all right. It was a fine first step. Courses get added and removed in here, by the way, so some courses you see here now might not be available. Oh, this one is interesting. Oh, damn, it's not available. Oh, shit. Anyway, this isn't a fixed list of courses. They get added, they get removed, they get finished, they get deprecated. So yeah, you might find something better or worse than I am seeing here right now. Can't say I was super happy with the course I went through, so I would recommend instead Cherno's channel. You probably know who he is. He's definitely way more popular than I am, but Cherno is a electronic arts programmer. I believe he doesn't work in electronic arts anymore, but he definitely did at some point, and I think he has a C++ series, and I would say these are the best first step into C++ that I'm aware of personally. I would just, he has really long, really detailed explanations on some concepts, and his playlist is what made me really understand C++ and how it works. So definitely strongly recommend. I recommend you start here, in fact, when you're learning C++. And by the way, quick tip, if you, in case it never came into your mind, you can watch videos on quicker speeds. Oh, there's even a custom version. This is great. I didn't see this earlier, but yeah, you can speed up the video. It helps me greatly personally because I do have some problems with my attention span, so I have a bit of an issue watching longer videos, and also but I can understand and comprehend a quicker speech pretty well, so this has been a very valuable tip for me. This helps me a lot. Another tip I want to add here is when you want to really quickly look up how something works in C++ or any language, the best place to look for is the language's documentation. So for example, I am learning to make games with Lua. I'll Google Lua documentation. And here we have a documentation, README, books, manuals, etc. This is really the best way to understand how a language works. Not all websites give very good explanations on languages and how they work, especially with the current problem of generative AI. There are a lot of AI generated articles that are of no help at all. Best place to check are the documentations for these languages. C++ doesn't have an official documentation, I believe, but it does have the CPP reference, which is, oh, there's a C reference too. And this, in my opinion, is like the best place to look up things like that. If I want to see how if statements work, I can look them up here. So yeah, when I want to search up how something works in C++, I look at the CPP reference. Next are books. Like I mentioned earlier, you got to get really comfortable with reading books. Books are very valuable when studying anything, and that includes programming and game programming. The books I am reading on C++ right now are these. This one is C++ Pointers and Dynamic Memory Management by Michael C. DeConta. It is really good. The great thing about it is there's a lot of written code here, right? That I can look at and analyze and think about. I got this one specifically because I wanted to, I do have a little bit of trouble understanding pointers and how to use them in greater detail, so I wanted to read more on that. It is pretty outdated. In fact, if you want to know just how outdated it is, if you look, the book says that it has code attached to it that you can upload to your computer and sample through, and look at what it's attached on. Like, yeah, pretty outdated, but still not bad. A lot of useful information. I found out a lot of useful stuff through this one. I am still not done reading it, but I'm working myself through it. And the other one is, I haven't actually started this one, so I can't tell you how good it is, but I am planning to read this one, and I will update you on whether it's good or not. It's called C++ Common Knowledge, and to my knowledge, it's intermediate problems for C++ game programmers. And I'm also going to read that one, and we'll find out if it's any good or not. It's by Stephen C. Dewhurst, I believe. I hope I'm reading that right, but I'm going to leave the links to these books as well. Going into observation, when you want to check out how code works, how certain things, certain projects can be organized and whatnot, and you can search, for example, Pong. You want to know how Pong could be coded, and then you take C++ and languages, and you have a bunch of Pong projects in here that you can check out. You can view the code, you can download the repository, see how it works, and that will help you figure out how to code your own projects and how to implement some of the features in your own projects. Speaking of GitHubs, you can check out my GitHub as well. I have some repositories here. And finally, let's talk about practice. And practice just means you actually do the work. You actually work on projects. Previous steps will definitely help you with this after you've after you know the theory, after you've seen it done by other people, you can do it on your own. Another thing that really helps with this is getting a job. Usually, if you want to work in C++, AAA, if you want to work in game dev AAA, your first job won't actually be game dev AAA. I would suggest getting a job as a C++ programmer and then working yourself up to it. That is a completely valid way to go about it. Or getting a job in just anywhere also is better than nothing, because you'll learn to work with huge code bases, you'll learn to work in a team, you'll learn like project management tools, all of that stuff. So yeah, definitely recommend getting a job, even if it's not in game programming. It'll also help you meet other programmers, and because programmers work with each other, you might meet a game programmer and get advice from them. Speaking of getting a job, don't treat GitHub as like a place to upload your projects after they're finished. Treat it more like ArtStation for game developers, or not just game developers, obviously, ArtStation for programmers. This is like the social media that is important when you want to get hired. So make sure it looks good. Regularly upload to your GitHub. Also, use it as a project management tool. You can have some private repositories on here and just upload your project to make sure you don't lose important data. And working on your projects regularly, and also having projects that help other programmers is a very good idea. You should definitely do that. Finally, if you are any kind of programmer, really, you will need math and physics. I would say any kind of programmer, but also obviously game programmers need high school level math. Graphics programmer need linear algebra, and engine programmers need physics and calculus. Linear algebra is basically the part of math that deals with planes and lines, but through numbers. This is like a very rough way to describe it. And calculus is the math of physics, so you can't be a physicist if you don't know calculus. So yeah, that's what I would say. So yeah, that's your little roadmap on that part. You definitely need at least high school level math, and I recommend you also keep that knowledge fresh. In terms of how to do it, I personally do it with edX. I also have some books on math and physics, but they're all in Georgian, so I can share those, but definitely keep that in mind. If you're neither a graphics programmer nor an engine programmer, if you're just a gameplay programmer, you still definitely need high school level math, because it's not just about knowing a specific part of math, although that also plays a part. For example, without knowing sine and cosine, you can't really work with circular motions or circular movement, but also just like knowing how to deal with math helps you write algorithms, because a lot of like the most compact ways, the best ways to like write algorithms is like it requires mathematical thinking and requires math, is the best way I can put it. And that's why I would recommend you start out your C++ programmer learning journey. There are more things to do. There are more books on the topic that I haven't even touched yet. I am still putting myself through the system. And if you want to learn about more of these in the future, check out my Patreon. I have a learning resources tier, the lowest tier. So for $1 a month in the future, I'll share more books, more things, more ways to study programming. If this video was of any use to you, you can check out my Ko-fi, my Patreon. There are links in the description. You can subscribe or follow me on GitHub, because that is my main social media. That's where I post my projects. For long-standing viewers, there is a huge update coming to Tomlib. It's going to be basically a complete rework. Right now, Tomlib can't be put on in a separate project and still work. Not as in like right now, Tomlib needs to be in the same folder as your project, and I am working on changing that. So I'm pretty excited to get that working. Thank you for watching. Bye.